Hi everyone, it's Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. So I did do a little spray tan. I might look a little different to you, more tan than normal. I do spray tan once a year prior to going on spring break because I am really white from the winter and it takes me some time to build up a tan, and then I have to kind of maintain it with self-tanner at home, which I don't mind doing over the summer months. But when we're on vacation, I don't like bothering with that. So I do go and get a spray tan, and I'm tan everywhere, even my face, and I never tan my face with self-tanner. I always just use bronzer for that. So I look, to me, I look a little funny with a tan, but it's only because my skin really doesn't tan and I'm just not used to seeing it. So since we are talking about bronzing and tanning, I thought this would be the perfect time to review for you a new release from Estée Lauder, and it's from the Bronze Goddess collection, and it is the new palette for 2023, and this is the Bronze Goddess Lumiere. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is what the box looks like. I'm a big fan of the Bronze Goddess collection, and I have been ever since it came out. I do have the Noir palette, and I've done videos with this. This is more of like a warm evening palette. It's one of my favorite palettes in my collection. And I do also have a Bronze Goddess palette from, I think this is from 2019 or 2020. And I purchased it when it first came out, and then I purchased it a couple years later at the cosmetics company outlet because they still had them in stock. And it looks like this. And this is the second one that I own of this one. I love this one too for a day or nighttime look, but I love this pop of turquoise and this deep green to use as like an eyeliner with the bronzy tones. And then you've got your blush and you've got a highlighter in this one. So it's really nice. So when I saw that they came out with a new palette for 2023, I really wanted to get it and review it for you. It does retail for $60, and I did purchase mine from Nordstrom. And $60 is a lot, but one thing I'm really happy about is that the price has not gone up with inflation. It's always $60. I think that's how much I paid for these when I purchased these way back when. This one that I got from the cosmetics company outlet, I got for like $29. So you can't beat it when you find it at the company cosmetics outlet. But I wanted to review this one for you, the new one, and I couldn't wait and see if it goes to the company cosmetics outlet. So I thought I would pick it up and review it for you. And this palette is unique because this is the first cool toned palette that Estee Lauder has released in the Bronze Goddess collection. And I will show it to you. It's got a big mirror. The packaging is really deluxe on these palettes, but I don't want to blind you, so I'm going to cover the large mirror with my hand. And this is what this year's palette looks like. So you have a quad up here, and it's very cool toned. And I'm going to go in and do swatches for you so you can see how they swatch, and I'll do a look with those four. Then you have the copper across the middle, and this is a face shade for highlighting the tops of your cheeks or your brow bone. So this is a cheek palette, an eye and cheek palette is what they claim on the Estee Lauder website or on Nordstrom where I purchased mine. And then you have these warmer shades right here, and they are really beautiful warm shades, and they're really different from the shades in the other two palettes that I've purchased in the past. So it's a really unique and different palette that has been released. And the quads for Estee Lauder, if you were to purchase a 4-pan quad, now these are shaped very differently, and I'm not sure what the weight is of the amount of product you get, but in their quads, it's $59 for one quad. And I think that's really expensive. I've never purchased an Estee Lauder quad. I have tried their eyeshadows before in their holiday boxes, and I do really like the formula. It's just that you get way more bang for your buck when you purchase them that way. So this is sort of, if you were to take all these and the weight of the copper, or this quad down here, I would think that this would be very close in weight to what you would get in a 4-pan quad. So you do get a little more bang for your buck purchasing the Estée Lauder eyeshadows in this type of collection, or like I said, in their holiday boxes. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a photo of the shades from the Estée Lauder website and put it on the screen, and then I'm going to swatch the shades for you, and then I'm going to do 2 looks with this palette, and I'm going to use the top 4 shades and do a cool toned look, and then I'm going to do the bottom 4, pulling in the copper, for a warmer toned look. So I hope that you will enjoy this video, and we're just going to jump in and get started. The first shade I'm going to swatch is this one right here, and it's called Golden Hour. And I'm just going to do 1 swipe at first, and now I'll go in for a second. A peachy shade with some shimmer. And now I'm going in with V and Rose, number 2, and I will swatch that right next to Golden Hour. They almost remind me a little bit of NARS Orgasm and NARS Orgasm Extreme. Similar shades, but definitely rosier and darker. Now I'm going in with number 3, Eclipsed. And it's a nice creamy matte. Does that look patchy? Maybe a little bit patchy. I didn't notice it being patchy when I was applying it. That's what it looks like with 2 swipes. Okay, now we're going to go in with number 4, Dawn. Again, the first swipe was a little patchy, but as I blend it, it's not patchy. These are most of the warm shades right here. That grouping. And now we're going to go in with number 5, Lumiere, or Lumiere. Oh, wow, look at that. Just a copper highlighter. And this is the shade that can be used on your cheeks and brow bone as a highlighter. Those are all the warmer shades. Now we're gonna go ahead and swatch the cool shades. I'm gonna go in with number 6 right here, Tranquility. It feels very silky and buttery. And that's how that looks with just 1 swatch. Let's go in for a second. Tranquility. Now we're gonna go in with 7, Prismatic. That's pretty too. It's a lavender shade, sort of a bluish purple, and it seems like it swatches more like a topper shade than an actual shade you'd use on its own because it's so light. Now we're going to do number 8, Supernova. Oh, that's so pretty too. It's a very cool toned, sort of magenta shade. 1 swipe, let's do another one. See if we can build that up. Okay, and now we're gonna go in with 9, right here, Dream Glow. Oh wow, that's so pretty. That's so bronzy and pretty. This is a color that I would use on its own. Wow, look how pretty that is. Okay, the cool shades are really pretty. So are the warm shades. And the face color, let's swatch that one more time. And we'll put that right here. It's hard to see on my skin, but it does have a glow. These are all the swatches of the Bronze Goddess Lumiere palette, however you say that. Cool tones. It's the first cool toned palette I've seen from Estée Lauder in the Bronze Goddess collection. Okay, let's do 2 looks. I'll do a cool look, and then I'll do a warmer look. I have a couple of final thoughts that I wanted to share with you before I say goodbye, and it is that these shades are really beautiful. And if you have tried the Bronze Goddess palettes in the past, the eyeshadow palettes, and you haven't been disappointed in them, I think that you will really like this palette as well. I think that it's a really beautiful palette, and it's really unique in that you do have the cooler tones, which have never been done before in their previous palettes. I will say though that some of the shades seem more like topper shades, particularly the lavender shade and this shade right here. It's a very shimmery shade and it's very light, and I think that it's really pretty for like the inner corner on the brow bone or as like a topper, just tapping into the middle of your eyeball. But as like a one and done shade or using it on its own, it just doesn't have the pigmentation there. However, you do have this shade beside it, which is quite a bit more pigmented. And in my mind, I think of these two shades like the Orgasm shade from NARS. And then the shade beside it is Orgasm Extreme. So you have the very kind of light sheer topper shade. And then you have also a very shimmery shade that just has a lot more rose tones or peachy tones in it. And this one you can pull off as like a one and done eyeshadow shade, or just for like I like to take a color like this and drag it like on the inside of my eyeball and then put a deeper shade on the outside. And this one I would use alone for that. But this one I find is just a little too sheer and light, and I would just do it like right here or on the brow bone. Then when you go up to the cool shades here, you have the beautiful lavender shade, and it's just so pretty. And no matter what you do, this shade is not going to be super pigmented because it's such a light shade. But for the type of shade it is very pigmented. So I hope that makes sense. It's just that it's such a light shade, it doesn't have that deep pigmentation. But I have found that if I get my brush wet with a little Prep and Prime from MAC, that's what I like to use to wet my brush, and then swatch it or go in with your brush, and you get a lot more color payoff. It's not as sheer, and it performs really differently than when you just swatch it when it's dry. So I do like that it has that versatility, and you can just use it as that pop of color for a one eyeshadow eye look. And I just wanted to share that tip with you, that if you get it wet, it does have a lot more pigmentation, or get it damp, not wet. So really pretty. I would have to say my favorite shades in this palette are the two that aren't very assuming at all. And it would be this one right here. It's so bronzy and beautiful. It reminds me of an old MAC shade that I had called Morocco Cocoa, and it was a single eyeshadow that was limited edition, and it was just beautiful. And when it was gone, I couldn't find it anywhere. I wish MAC would bring that shade back, but it looks almost exactly how that shade looked, and I loved it for a one and done eyeshadow look. I wish this was bigger. And then this shade up here in the cool tones is like a very similar shade, but it's definitely cool. So you've got those two shades that are just so beautiful. I would not use them together, definitely warm and cool, but they both can be used beautifully on their own. And like I said, don't be afraid to spray some, like get your brush a little bit damp or use some Prep and Prime and then go in, and it will really have a lot of color payoff, and you can create some stunning looks. So it is a palette that you might need to use some tricks to get the performance that you want. And if you don't like that, you won't like this palette. If you're someone who just wants to, you don't want to deal with any tricks, you just want to get your eyeshadow on and be done with it. But if you're a makeup lover like me who likes playing with makeup a little bit more, I think you'll really enjoy this palette, and it will be a nice, interesting addition to your Bronze Goddess collection. So thank you for spending some time with me. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love interacting with you, and I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. I'll see you next time.